YouTube, it's your boy Fishing Ken and my main man,
Hook City.
and you know we back out here once again. Hey, first off, I want to say thank you. We have now made it past 5,000 subscribers. All my subscribers, all those Hook City citizens, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Woo! The Crappie want to say thank you too. Hey, look. I came out here today, man. I am gonna do a little bit of fishing, but the main purpose of today is to answer a question that was brought up in the comment section of one of my last videos. And that question was, hey, if I don't have spot lock, how can I stay over this brush pile? And guys, guess what? I haven't always had spot lock. And what I had to do was learn how to use a foot control trolling motor. I know there are a lot of people that know how to use hand controls, but what that doesn't do is leave you hands free. You're always going to be using your hands instead of, you know, holding on to a pole or paying attention to what's going on like that. Another good thing about the foot control, I have control in 360 degrees, you know, without having to overextend or do any kind of reaching. Also, I want to apologize right now for the audio on this video. My microphone is giving me the blues. I just did 20 minutes worth of video and got 0 minutes worth of audio. So here we are again, guys. All right. Basically, there are a few things you need to know in order to properly stay over a brush pile using a cable steer or foot control trolling motor. Let's get right into it. First thing I want y'all to understand is that you need to make sure you have a steady platform. Out here today, I think we're dealing with like 14 to 18 mile an hour wind. It's definitely a lot of chop on the water. When you're out here with a lot of these waves and wake boats passing by, it can get real shaky, man. A lot of people lose their balance. So two things I like to do. I either use a butt seat, number one, which is some of my old videos you'll see. And I also use what we're sitting in now, which are these just regular fishing seats. As you can see, Dad's getting his minnow together. We have our base. We have comfortable seating. We're either in a butt seat where we're more in a standing position, leaning up against the butt seat, which helps to stabilize us, or we're sitting in a regular fishing chair. Either one is going to work just fine for this. Next thing we want to do is get familiar with the pedal. On any kind of pedal, when you're dealing with a cable steer trolling motor, there's going to be some type of tensioning screw. Now, that tensioning screw is for you to personalize that pedal so that you can put however much tension you need on it in order to make that trolling motor head move. Now, as many people know, it's a heel toe motion to go left to right with the trolling motor. And depending on how tight or loose you have that tensioning screw, it's going to tell us how much effort you're going to put into that heel toe to move it. You don't want it too loose to where that trolling motor just whips around on you, and you don't want it too tight to where you're doing calf raises just to get the trolling motor to turn. All right, so make sure you find that tensioning screw. The trolling motor that I'm using does not have a tensioning screw. This is basically a motorized trolling motor with cable steer, and it is assisted cable steer, which means that it helps me. When I put a little bit of pressure, it moves. Look at here. Look at here, what you got there, Dad?
Got a small one.
Got a little dink, huh? That's all right. You know I can't make a video, man, without a little bit of fishing going on, too. It's pointless, right? All right, let's get back into it. My bad, I get sidetracked easy. Once you get that tensioning screw set where you like it, it's going to allow you, like I said, to you don't want to have to put too much effort into it, but you don't want it to be too loose to where that trolling motor spins when you barely tap on it. Okay, another thing I want you guys to get familiar with is where the power button is. On Minn Kotas, the power button is here. On the other brands, it might be over this side, so this might be switched, okay? The other thing you want to get familiar with is how much thrust, and this is going to go from 1 to 10, numbers from 1 to 10. 1 is going to be the lowest power setting, and 10 is going to be the highest power setting. Now, before we go any further, I want you guys to understand that if you have at least a 16-foot boat and you fish in mild or moderate to high winds, I would suggest that you go at least 24 volts, and that's usually going to be in your older trolling motor, 75-pound thrust all the way up to about 112-pound thrust, which is 2 or 3 batteries, which means 24 or 36 volt trolling motors. I would not deal with the 12 volt trolling motors, especially if you like to fish for extended periods of time. The last thing I want you to remember through this entire video, if you're learning how to run a foot control trolling motor or a cable steer trolling motor, I want you to keep in your head momentum. How much momentum you gain is going to either keep you in place or it's going to throw you past where you want to be. So when I first started, I would do 2 things. I would either go up to a tree. Arlington Lake doesn't have many trees, so I really don't use trees out here. Or the second thing you can do, which is what I've done today to make this video, is throw you out a buoy marker over a brush pile. All right, so there's my buoy marker. There is my brush pile, guys. All right, so we have a buoy marker set, brush pile set in place, so we know where we need to be. All right, now I do have spot lock on right now. I'm about to turn it off right now and give you an understanding of how this all should work. First thing we want to do, we want to make sure we're not gaining too much momentum. All right, we have the buoy marker out. I've now backed away from the buoy a little bit, as you can see right there. Boop. All right, we're a couple of feet away from it. Now I want to set the power setting on this trolling motor just enough to get me up to that buoy slowly. I don't want to rush up to that buoy because momentum, once I come off of that power button, is going to push me past it. We don't want to get all into that. So this is what I want to do. Now, understand I'm downwind. First of all, I'm downwind from the spot I want to go to. So what we're going to be doing is trying to push against the wind as the wind pushes against us, and that's going to hold us in place. So what I've done, I got my power settings here. I'm going to put my power setting on about 5. I'm going to try 5. All right, I'm going to step on that and I'm going to head up towards my buoy. Another quick thing to remember, if you want to turn left on a cable steer trolling motor, you press down on the heel. All right, if you want to go right, you put power on the foot, you put pressure on the toes. All right, now we understand how to go left to right. We got that together. We're gaining on our buoy marker, as we can see is right there now. We're slowly gaining on it. We're not rushing up to it. All right, and when I get a couple of feet away, I'm going to come off of it. Momentum is still going to bring me closer and closer and closer. Now we're right over it. We're right behind it. There's my brush pile. There's 2 things I can do. I can sit here and I can jump back on it when the wind kicks up, or when the boat decides to start moving, or I can kind of just on off, just give it a little bit of power to keep it in place. I don't want to gain momentum when I'm trying to stay in place. What I want to do is fight against the wind just enough to stay in place and not go into the wind anymore. I hope that's making sense to you guys. Make sure, if you guys have any questions about what I'm saying, I know I might not be explaining it to where everybody can understand it. Don't be afraid to send questions to me, guys, in the comment section or to the email, kennethpierce@gmail.com. No question is a dumb question, man. I asked a lot of the good guys that fish a lot of questions. And then I just want to give a real quick shout out to a guy by the name of Carl Ellis. Carl Ellis was one of the guys I actually asked to get on the boat with him for the specific reason of learning how to run a foot control trolling motor. Carl Ellis was really good at running a foot control trolling motor, and I wanted to get in the boat with him so I could understand how it went. All right, so thank you very much, Carl. Here I am trying to teach other people how to do the exact same thing now. We are sitting at the buoy marker, right? Running the foot control. I'm only gonna give power when I need to. My foot rests here the whole time, by the way. I never take it off. Only time I move my foot is to come on and off of the power button. Other than that, I rest it on the foot pedal. That allows me to do that because I'm sitting down, right? Guys, here's my buoy. We are on the foot control. And what I want to do is be able to sit right there next to the buoy. And I'm gonna take my foot off if I feel my momentum pushing forward. If I'm going further than this buoy, my foot comes off the foot pedal, off of the power button on the foot pedal. I just lean my foot over and I'm off of it. If the wind starts backing me up, which it did, you see where my buoy is now, I'm gonna put my foot back on it. If the wind begins to gust, I can always reach down and adjust with either my hand or my foot, this roller. I can adjust either way. You don't want to be too low, because if you're too low, the wind's just going to push you. All right? So now I'm at 3 and the wind is still pushing me back. I'll kick it up to 4 or 5. I'm at about 5.5 now, and the wind is no longer pushing me back, and I'm steady, right? And that's what I want to be. I want to be able to sit directly over what I'm fishing. If I start gaining too much on the buoy, I take my foot off. And that's all it takes, guys, to be hands-free out here fishing and catching fish. Really simple as that, man. I'm gonna see if I can get on a couple of fish. As y'all know, I want to be informative, but if I'm on this lake, man, I gotta get a thump. Ooh. Come on, Dad. Everybody, small. Come on. Hey. Wait, I got it. Gather myself and take my time. Hey, don't ever get in the rush. I don't care. I know it's a badonky. I know it. Hey, don't ever get in the rush with these fish. I started to get in the rush because I seen him, but I had to trust a handy-dandy, full snatching, donkey lifting, 7.5 ACC crappie stick. Hey, man, y'all better get y'all one of these 7.5 ACCs, man. Look, accrappiesticks.com. You see it. Hey, man, that's close to a 15-inch fish, I bet you. Y'all to know we're having a hee-haw-good time out here today. There's no other way to explain that but in the words of the great SK, bam, bam. Get you some of that, baby Jack.